Howdy folks and welcome to FoundFlix. On this Ending Explained, we're looking at Smile 2, where about to embark on a world tour, global pop sensation Skye Riley begins experiencing increasingly terrifying and inexplicable events. Overwhelmed by the escalating horrors and the pressures of fame, Skye is forced to face her past. Naturally, when Smile became a breakout hit, the studio came clawing for a sequel. Parker Finn was more than up for the task, crafting a sequel that expands on the scope and stakes of the original. Now, bigger isn't always better, but Smile 2 manages to outdo its predecessor in every way. It's darker and nastier and has a lot of standout scare sequences. It's also cool to see Finn evolve as a filmmaker, and Smile 2 is undeniably visually slick, almost too much at times. It's like, damn Finn, you didn't have to go that hard, but it makes me excited to see him grow beyond the Smile series. I also have to give massive praise to Naomi Scott in the lead role. She absolutely kills it here. So let's check out Smile 2, breaking down the story, including Skye's personal journey, as well as what the demon is after this time, and explaining the ending that really blows the doors wide open for the series. We pick up a mere 6 days after the events of the first film, and the infected Joel is nearing the end of his time with the spirit. Desperate to transfer the curse, he seeks out a gang of murderous drug dealers, so at least it gets spread to someone who deserves it. He runs up on a guy and forces him inside at gunpoint. The head dealer can't believe what he's doing. Doesn't he know who they are? He does, in fact, mentioning that they killed an innocent mother and child. He has something to give them and insists that they watch as he guts the guy with a knife. They both open fire and Joel gets winged in the arm, but the other dude gets mortally wounded and is bleeding out, destroying his entire plan. Luckily, there's another frightened lad, Lewis, there as well. He stammers that he hates those guys too. He only buys stuff from them. Joel apologizes this wasn't meant for you and leaves, only to find more dealers arriving, sending him back inside. They chase him down and he escapes via a window. He scrambles to his feet and gets plowed right into by a truck. Problem solved, a member laughs. So I gotta say already right off the bat, the rules have kind of been bent a little bit. Lewis should have seen the demon take control and kill Joel, but he got hit by a truck instead. Regardless, somehow the curse has been able to spread to Lewis, continuing the curse's chain. Yeah, the demon didn't even kill him unless the demon was driving the truck. We then meet the troubled pop star Skye Riley, seen first in a music video featuring her dancing around with a bunch of ghosts, certainly a harbinger of death. A year ago, she got in an accident that took the life of actor and boyfriend Paul. This is her first interview since the accident on The Drew Show. She's introduced to thunderous cheers and applause from the audience. Drew compliments her new do, and the audience approves as well. She knows that Skye has a new tour kicking off next week. Is this comeback emotional for her? Skye admits that there are a lot of different emotions going on. They then bring up her rough patch, and she laughs that's a bit generous. She opens up about the stress and pressure from the tour. She should have asked for help, but instead drowned it out with drugs, alcohol, and bad decisions. She takes the time to apologize to her fans along with everyone else, everyone who was counting on me. I let you down. She promises that it won't happen again, to another big round of applause. This particular moment illuminates Skye's biggest issue. She didn't talk to people to get help and wound up nearly blowing up her entire life as a result. More on that later. Drew inquires about her life since leaving the hospital and see a glimpse of the truth, Skye screaming and tearing her hair. She gives a restrained answer about spending time looking inward and learning to appreciate life sober. She's so grateful for a second chance and doesn't want to waste it. Afterwards, Skye is met by her momager and assistant Joshua, who are always by her side for better or worse. There's a bunch of screaming fans waiting for her, and in the car, Skye just wants a little bit of peace. No luck there. As her mom and Josh prattle on about her TikTok blowing up, she drowns them out with some music and drinks of Voss. She next has to practice some quite intense choreography and a song about her needing a new brain and is going insane. She does each move without a hitch, until at one point she does a spin and tweaks her back. The choreographer wants to take a break, but she insists she's fine, wanting to go again. At home on her own, we see a scar on her back from the accident, along with a much longer scar covering her torso, which she stares at wearily. Desperate to ease her back pain, she finds some leftover pills. There's a knocking and she gets startled, dumping them down the drain. It's her mom checking in and encourages that she should feel good about today. Skye blankly agrees, I do. In the car, there's a laundry list of more commitments upcoming, but she is elsewhere. She texts somebody else saying she wants to drop by. There's some guy, Darius, that her mom reminds her is quite important. He is funding the majority of the tour. Skye is annoyed. Darius hasn't ever had a problem with her. She then gets a text back from the number, and despite her mom telling her to go straight to bed, yet, she sneaks out right after they drive away. She goes to meet with a now especially off his rocker Lewis, you know, not just the drugs. He drags her inside and takes a sword to her throat. She just wants some pain pills, man, and he doesn't believe her. She points out that he did text her back, but when he checks his phone, Lewis doesn't remember sending them. He suddenly regains his composure and giggles. He's having the worst week. Skye is all, what was up with the sword, and he somehow has already forgotten that too. He's curious if she believes in weird shit, and Skye thinks it is time to go. He tries to bring her back around and offers her a variety of drugs. She just needs some Vicodin for her back, and he leaves the room to fetch the stuff. And he now seems strangely excited that she's here to her confusion. Something definitely off about this dude. She waits impatiently for his return, and on the news there's a story about her during the dark times. There were reports of both her and Paul being intoxicated, and a lot of speculation surrounding Riley's substance abuse. Then there's some candid photos of her losing her shit Britney style, and she turns off the TV. She shouts out for Lewis several times but gets no answer. Annoyed, she tiptoes to the back room and hopes this is not some kind of joke. He emerges from the darkness, screaming and completely freaking out. He eyes something behind her, shouting, "No, get away from me!" Skye is baffled, and he falls to the floor choking. She doesn't know what to do, and the choking stops, thinking that he must be ODing. He then is suddenly back, creaking his face towards her, showing off his big pearly chompers. The demon is now in the driver's seat. Skye scuttles back, and the demon grabs a hold of a big old weight, smashing Lewis's face to bits, still smiling the whole time, even when all that's left is a mound of bloody meat. Skye is frozen in shock, and then thinks of what to do. About to call 911, she remembers all those drugs around, probably not a good look for her comeback. Her world turned upside down. She retreats to her apartment, completely traumatized. In more ways than one, as the curse has now been passed on to her. She fetches a bottle of emotional support water and chugs the entire thing in one go. It seems that the water has replaced her other, more dangerous vices. When combing her hair, it gets stuck. She keeps tugging and yanks some strands. While an accident here, it seems that she has trichotillomania, another coping mechanism when she's feeling overwhelmed. She lies listlessly in bed, and as soon as she closes her eyes, there's squelching sounds somewhere in the room. She peers around and then sees Lewis all mangled standing there. She turns on the light and he's gone. Now, even more on edge, she has to do another full day of her pop star shit. While getting makeup, she's a million miles away, her mom as always in her ear droning on. She can tell that she's starting to feel the pressure, offering her another water. Gotta stay hydrated. Skye snaps, and Ma suggests that she reach out to her former best friend. Maybe it would be good to have her on tour to, you know, keep her functioning. They had a big falling out apparently, and Skye hasn't really tried to contact her since. That dude Darius is back with more demands. He wants her to put in a little appearance at a fundraiser, but it's no big deal. You just gotta stand there and read the script, you know. Her mom mouths yes, and Skye knows that she has no choice but to agree, in spite of her increasingly fragile mental state. Skye thinks back to her old friends, scrolling right past Gaga to Jimma, and her background is a photo of the pair together. They must have been very close, but her last message was definitely not the friendliest. She begins to type a message, but stops herself, and then gets a message from an unknown number asking if she was at Lewis's last night. More squelching snaps her out of it, and she spins around to an empty room. However, every time she looks in the mirror, there Lewis is, looming behind her. He grabs her lips, forcing her into a painful big smile. She shrieks, and things are back to normal, but the demon guy is already really starting to get to her. As we know, it feeds on all the bad stuff in your head, and it has quite the buffet with Skye. She tries to get herself together. Fuck this guy, she spits. The crew comes in confused about the screaming. She fibs that it was a spider, but she has a more pressing wardrobe matter. You can see right through the midsection of the costume, which would spotlight her scar. She cries that she doesn't want to look disgusting. The others encourage that she looks great, but she puts her foot down. I'm not wearing it. As rehearsals continue, she's seen back to tugging at her hair, showing us that she's starting to fall back into old habits. Next up for Skye is a signing session. Most of the fans are just overexcited, but nice enough, until some weird guys with sores Alfredo greasily asks for an autograph. They snap a photo, and he tells her that he can see that she's sad on the inside. I can make you happy, he declares. You have the most amazing skin. He appropriately gets yanked away, shouting after that he loves her. Skye takes a minute to herself, and already her mom is up her ass with another bottle of water. Geez, mom, I don't want any daggum water. She just wants to get the signing done, and they send along the next little girl. She comes out with pigtails and a big old braces-filled smile. Throughout their interaction, Skye tries to talk to her, and the girl says nothing, just staring at her all creepy-like. Even in the picture, her gaze is affixed on Skye. When mom takes her away by the hand, she's still smirking. Skye is hyper-fixated on that mysterious message, pulling nervously at her hair, and yanks a chunk right out. She decides to bite the bullet and call Jimma. She calls her right back, and Skye pours out her emotions upon her, feeling that it was wrong to even call in the first place. Jimma is there for her and is happy to oblige when she asks her to drop by. While she waits, Skye opens up a notebook of song sketches. She plays a much more personal and heartfelt song all about being made up of broken parts. A glass shatters, and she sees the bottle that she left out smashed on the floor, thinking that someone must be here. She grabs a broom, and when returning, she discovers Alfredo's signed shirt on the ground, and she rounds a corner and the hallway is littered with the rest of his clothes, including some skid-marked tighty-whities. Gross! The lights click off, and Alfredo is on the other end of the hall in all of his naked, smiling glory. Skye is petrified in terror, and he rushes towards her. She gets to the door just as Gemma happens to show up, wondering what the hell is going on. Skye is still in panic mode, and Gemma grabs something to lend a hand. Now in the hall, there are no clothes whatsoever, and the bottle is back on the counter to her confusion. Skye shakes it off and gives her a big hug, curious how she got here so fast. Gemma tells her that call was an hour ago, and we can tell that Skye is getting more out of sorts thanks to the demon's ever-tightening stranglehold. She breathlessly explains that she had some kind of nightmare fever dream that scared her good. She chunks some more water, explaining that it was indeed an idea from her therapist. Whenever she's overwhelmed with the urge to use, stop what you're doing and drink some water. Some kind of acknowledgement of what she can and cannot control. Skye tries to act human, gushing that it's good to see her, giving her another hug and big apology. Gemma curtly accepts it, and Skye is relieved. You know I love you, right? You're seriously my ride or die. Gemma asks what is going on, and Skye is overwhelmed again. She slumps down on the counter, admitting she doesn't know, but is such a mess. Gemma joins her on the floor. How messy are we talking? Finally feeling comfortable for a change, Skye opens up about what happened with Lewis, and that she was in search of Vicodin for her back. Gemma is relieved that she didn't call the police. The story would have destroyed her career. And since his death, Skye has been seeing this dude everywhere. She's sorry for laying all of this on her, confirming that she doesn't have anyone to talk to. Gemma offers to stay the night, and Skye can't believe she really would, smiling, I miss you, bitch. We are then flashed back to her right after the accident and all torn up. She regains consciousness, taking in what's happening and gasping in pain, her bone sticking right out of her leg. She painfully turns her head to the driver's seat, and Paul is a goner. She breaks down into a blubbering mess at the sight, pleading for someone to help. She shoots awake, now back in bed. Ooh, Talking Heads t-shirt, nice. She tries to calm herself, clutching at her chest. Gemma stirs awake, making sure that she's okay. Skye says that she is and lies back down. She tries to apologize once more, and her friend tells her that it's already forgiven. Then Skye really gives us insight into her long, lingering issues. She doesn't know why. She destroys everything, feeling like her brain is a bad place, full of chaos and noise. She's trapped there, all alone in the darkness. She wants to quiet the noise, but does not know how. Well, now we understand that Skye has a lot of deep-seated mental issues that have apparently never been dealt with in her entire life. That's probably what led to her breakdown in the first place, as she had mentioned a few times that there wasn't anyone to talk to. She had to deal with this all on her own. Gemma whispers back, that's because you're a terrible person. It looks like she's asleep until her eyes flutter open and she starts to smile. Her face then looks like headlights shining through, a car horn honks, and she backs away, suddenly finding it's the next morning. Gemma isn't even in bed. She was making the matcha. She realizes that she overslept and her mama's gonna kill her, sending her right for the boss. Gemma wants to help, and Skye asks her to come on tour. Her friend wants to at least discuss things first. Seems like a big decision. Before they can talk, her mom bursts in, annoyed. There's 100 people waiting just for you. At the location, Darius gives her grief too, and Skye profusely apologizes to everyone for having to wait. Man, cut her a break already. They do a full production run through on stage, and it's another song with double meaning. I've got a secret to tell you. There's something wrong with me. Can already see it starting to show. I'm feeling different in my skin, like something is changing. Might be a tragedy, devastation, future disaster. What's waiting to happen? Pretty appropriate considering what she's going through. She sees a flash of Paul and collapses, appearing to break her leg in the exact same manner as the crash. Everyone halts to a stop, but of course when she looks, her leg is fine. She turns accusatory to the others. Someone was out of step and must have knocked her over. Anton didn't see it that way, and Skye leaves in a huff. In the hall, she passes by an eerily smiling Josh and holds up in the solace of her dressing room. That too has been impinged upon, finding the entire place wrecked. The gang comes in, and she places the blame on Joshua, screaming she saw him. Her mom defends that he's been with her all day, and understandably she wants to know, are you using again? That would explain things at least. She isn't, of course, and even is willing to take a drug test. If it's not that, then what is going on here anyway? She cries of feeling crazy all the time, everything is going wrong, no one will listen to her, and everyone hates her. Mom assures her it's the opposite. Everyone believes in her and the tour. Skye doesn't think that she's ready for it. It's too much. Mom's willing to at least book her a little downtime before the tour kicks off, but for now, she needs to pull herself together, as tonight is Darius's big event. Skye really isn't feeling up for that, but her mom will not budge. She's not going to cancel a commitment commitment to underprivileged youth right before launching a tour, well, you are stuck it seems. We also really see here the complexity of things for Skye. Her mom actually does try to help in many ways, but ultimately it seems that the career comes above all else, including her mental health. Waiting to go on stage, she gets another message from the unknown number. They know who she is. She's then introduced to come out and she swats a fly, smearing her lipstick. She stays collected and sees the teleprompter. Should be easy enough, right? Of course not. The script doesn't move and she tries to improvise, things quickly going off the rails. They only get more uncomfortable the longer she talks about her relationship with music. It gave her everything she wanted, but also almost killed her. She then corrects herself, well, the music didn't put all those drugs up her nose. She continues that when she was younger, she hoped achieving success would fix everything wrong with her, but it cannot fix a deeply broken person. She traded all for just a moment of happiness. Even though it is way past salvaging, the prompter finally starts to crawl. She goes on to introduce the one and only Paul Hudson, her dead boyfriend, to everyone's shock. He's seen out in the audience, and that is definitely Jack Nicholson's kid. Look at that sinister smirk. She clenches her eyes closed, trying to keep herself together. She opens them, and he's gone. Just a confused and worried audience watching this all unfold. The old lady puts a comforting hand on her shoulder. To her, it's Paul, and she launches the lady away right into a table. Kinda funny, actually. Feeling worse than ever, Gemma has gone radio silent. Her new friend is a little more talkative, offering they can help and wants to meet up. She asks who it is, and they tell her concretely, you are not imagining things. It's all real. They send a video of Lewis being incredibly paranoid a few days before his death. He focuses on one corner, asking, do you see it? It keeps smiling at me. He then appears with a scream right next to her, giving Skye another startle. Now word from this week's sponsor, Raycon. The holidays are upon us, and if you're struggling to find the perfect gift for someone on your list, why not give them something they could really use instead of just sitting in a drawer somewhere? Raycon's everyday earbuds make an amazing holiday gift for anyone on your list. The everyday earbuds boast thousands of 5-star reviews online, and their latest model is packed with features like a 32-hour battery life and multi-point connectivity that lets you pair 2 devices at once. My favorite feature, especially for the holidays, has to be the active noise cancellation. I have a huge family with kids running around and screaming all the time. Sometimes you need a break, and the noise cancellation is perfect for taking a moment. Sorry kids, Unky Chris is busy. It's great too, as Raycon start at just half the price of other premium audio brands. That way you can spend less and get even more. That's right, 2 gifts for the price of 1. So save big for the holidays and get up to 25% off site-wide at buyraycon.com/ending. That's right, you'll get up to 25% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/ending. buyraycon.com/ending. Now word from this week's sponsor, Hims. Guys, you know how it goes. It's about to be sexy times, but maybe you need a little assistance. Hims provides access to treatments that will help you get that boost of confidence so you can be ready for action. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like Viagra and Cialis, along with their generics for up to 95% cheaper. Best of all, the whole process is completely online, so you can avoid uncomfortable doctor visits. All you have to do is answer some questions on their website, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option for you. If prescribed, they deliver the medication right to your door for free. How easy is that? Start your free online visit today at hims.com/ending. That's HIMS.com/ending for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/ending. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. She's reached her limit and agrees to meet with a mystery texter. Skye arrives at a random bar and tries to stay incognito. There she meets Morris, and he too knows that she's famous, apologizing for invading her privacy. As for Lewis, he didn't know him, but was actually trying to warn him. By the time he tracked him down to his apartment, he was already dead. He knows this all sounds quite insane, but Lewis was actually infected, possessed, and murdered by a metaphysical being. We know as much, but Skye isn't buying the crazy supernatural story. Best start believing, lady. He can tell she might be believing it a little bit. You did see something odd, didn't you? Skye feels that she's losing her mind, and that's just how the demon works. It drives its host insane over the course of a week, and then kills them in front of a witness, causing the curse to continue. He knows of 8 people before her, including Joel. His own brother was also a victim as well. Morris feels guilty. His brother begged him for help, but he didn't listen. Sounds familiar. He does have a plan. Basically, stop the chain before the host is killed. She realizes that means that she has to die before it kills me? Yeah, exactly. Gotta kill you first. As she's bombarded with more calls from her team, he stresses that she has to do this, or more people are gonna die. We should be going right now. That's thrown out the the window when she gets recognized, and everyone crowds around her, blowing her cover. She gets a packed bag ready to go, looking like she is going to leave. She packs up some toiletries, and her back pain is back with a vengeance. She fishes for some Tylenol, but spills the bottle all over the floor. She snaps and tosses something, shattering her shower. She eventually regains herself and grunts back to her feet. She turns on the closet light to a whole troop of smilers waiting for her, dressed as fans. They come at her in sporadic, unified waves of movement, almost like an interpretive dance performance or something. It's pretty weird. She slinks along the bed and makes a break for it, and they swarm after. In the main room, there's more waiting perched around the area, and the others have filled all the way up to the ceiling. She almost makes it to the door, but the horde catches her, dragging her into their midst. They continue their twisted choreography, pulling her around the room and bunk her head on the piano. They then completely consume her, grabbing all over her, and pulls a real big chunk of hair. Ouch! Even worse, another guy shoves his entire sore-covered arm all the way down her gullet. She shot back to earlier, the fateful evening of the crash, barreling down the road with Paul at the wheel. They are both doing drugs and get into an especially heated argument. It's when he starts calling her psycho that things take an even scarier turn. She starts punching him, spitting, "Is that crazy enough for you?" He cackles that she's crazy and mocks her, crying, "You look so ugly when you cry." She sits there fuming for a moment until anger takes over. She grabs the steering wheel, sending them careening off the side of the road. Basically, all this was her fault. Certainly the arguing didn't help, but it was literally her hand on the wheel that caused the crash. Another reason, no doubt, that Skye has still been struggling. She comes to in a wellness center with her mom there. The doc said that she was sleep deprived and dehydrated. Dehydrated? How? This lady drinks more water than anyone on earth. Mom has her phone and refuses to hand it over. Skye tries to be real with her. Something crazy is happening and she needs to get out of here now. Mom will not allow this. She's under her watch until the show tomorrow. They gotta make sure that she's 100% and ready to perform, despite the fact that she obviously isn't. Even if there wasn't this whole demon thing going on, she is not doing so good, you know. Skye tries to stand up for herself. She cannot do the show. Mom seemed to expect her to say this, saying that if she cancels, it's right into a recovery program for her. That's the only reasonable excuse for canceling a tour again. Skye tries to interject that she doesn't understand, and Mom thinks that she doesn't understand. There's no more chances. This is it. If she cancels, they'll get sued and lose everything they built. Skye sobs. Why is that all she cares about? You don't care about me. Mom, who is kind of right and wrong as usual, points out that she sacrificed everything for her. She's just too selfish to see it. If she wants to throw everything away, fine, go for it. That's what everyone expected anyway. Well, that's not exactly helpful. Skye groans. She wishes that she could see what it's like in her head. Mom then turns demonic. Oh, she knows. She's tasted what's up in there. She smiles, and the demon takes her out with repeated stabs from a shard of broken mirror. Skye runs the door, and things aren't what they seem, with her now wielding the bloody shard. She looks back, and her mom is still on the ground. Skye once more tries to snap herself out of it. No luck this time, as Elizabeth bleeds out. Then there's a knock at the door from Joshua. She finds an excuse to send him away. Seizing the moment, she grabs her phone, donning a fresh hoodie, and flees. She makes it down to the lobby, the place crawling with people, including a security guard. The exit is so close, but she's foiled by Josh. He notices her gown. Is that blood? He shakily shouts for a doctor, Skye telling him to shut up. People are all on the way over, and she goes for the guard, grabbing his gun. She growls for everyone to stay back, and Darius shows up bearing flowers, wondering, what are you doing? Think about the tour. Fuck the tour, she sneers and runs out. Out on the street, every noise is loud and overwhelming. Distracted, Skye steps right on some broken glass, and Gemma just happens to be there. Her mom called her apparently and sent a car to pick her up. Skye needs that car and forces the guy to get out. Gemma wants to tag along, and Skye refuses, until she reminds her that she can't actually drive. She texts Morris, and they're off to Staten Island. Gross, why? Gemma asks. Skye gets her foot wrapped up and wants her to pull over. She pours her heart out, feeling that all she does is make everyone's life hell. So get away from me before she messes her up too. Fuck that noise, she smiles. Ride or die, bitch. It's another trick as she checks her phone, and it's none other than Gemma calling. When she answers, it's obvious that her and the real Gemma never actually had a reconciliation. They haven't talked for a year. This really makes us rethink everything from that point on. Reality cannot be trusted, even earlier than I would have expected. Skye glances over to Gemma, and she flashes a smile. She hates you, she says in a demonic growl. Skye loses it and tries to get out of the car while Gemma continues hurling insults. She tries to take control, clenching her eyes and whispering to herself, I'm in control here. There's a flash of light, and she finds herself in the driver's seat and nearly gets into an accident. She barrels into a closed business parking lot where Morris is waiting for her. She hands over the gun, ordering him to shoot her if she starts smiling. After some prodding, he agrees to do so. Basically, Morris's plan is to do a frighteners on her, as in slowing her heart rate in a cold environment to the point of death. After a few minutes, hopefully the demon will no longer be attached and he can then revive her. With no other choice, she lays out on the table, grumbling to herself she can't believe that she might die in the freezer of a Pizza Hut. She tells him sorry about his brother and thanks him for the help. He is curious, what changed your mind? And Skye says that every good thing in her life ends up broken because of her. She hurts everything and everyone I touch. Whatever happens to her, she won't let this thing hurt anyone else. Morris leaves her in the room and is gone for quite a while. Something starts dripping from above, hearing sobbing. She stares up to herself from the accident up on the ceiling. Her other self unbuckles her belt and tumbles right on top of her. She grabs her by the hair and lifts her up to the wall. Skye tries to shout for Morris, but she's told it's just you and me. The demon likes wearing her skin and tosses her across the room. Other Skye appears right on top of her. You can never escape who you truly are on the inside. Skye spots the needle nearby. Look at me, it growls with big, weird eyeballs. She jams her fingers in her mouth and opens their mouth wide, revealing several more sets within. Skye munches down on her fingers, biting them right off. She gets the needle, jamming it in her neck, the other Skye screeching. Skye starts fading away and her heartbeat slows. The other Skye smiles and chuckles. This isn't real, Skye. She looks back and her needle is gone. She starts backing out and the door slams shut, trapping her inside. You're not in control, Skye, the demon giggles. I am. She tells herself to break a leg, slamming the doors closed. There's loud stage machinery heard and fog takes over. She finds herself on stage at her first concert, still freaking out. And the crowd cheers and whistles. Skye is overwhelmed, staring at the full stadium waiting for her to perform. And she's wearing that one outfit that she didn't want to, showing us how much reality has been manipulated. Her mama and Darius are in the audience cheering her on, mom reminding her to smile. She looks across the stage and the other demon version of her is there. She tears open her costume and the demon is birthed from her body. Its long fleshy arms tumble out, followed by a huge weird face guy. Pretty sure he looks a lot bigger than last time. It opens her mouth, snapping her jaw wide open. In reality, Skye is lying on the floor sputtering. She then rises up to everyone's relief, but we know that now the demon has taken control, and she turns back to everyone bearing a creepy smile. The crowd goes silent again, and she lifts the mic up to her mouth, the people staring intently. We only see from the audience's POV, but based on the sounds of a mic hitting flesh, we can figure out what's going on. The audience watching on in shock. We see the mic jammed in her head, Skye dead but still smiling. There are certainly huge ramifications for this outcome. Presumably for the first time, the demon was able to do its thing in front of thousands of people at the same time, versus infecting one host at a time. Now the curse will be a full-on epidemic, really setting us up for an explosive part 3. Sure, all that's great for the next sequel, but I have to say that once more the ending, just as the first, leaves me more than a little bothered. With mental health being such a big aspect to these movies, it's just weird that both endings seem to suggest there is no way to overcome one's mental illness. Skye especially has tons of apparently untreated issues. As we learn over the story, she really has felt broken and damaged her whole life. We also don't know when exactly she became a superstar in the first place, but presumably most of her life has been in the spotlight, which makes things 1,000 times more difficult. The pressure. We remember at the charity thing, she also brings up hoping that being successful would fix her, but doesn't work that way. Those problems will still be there unless actually dealt with. I was confused a bit because it does seem that she went to therapy after the crash at the very least, but then I was all, wait a minute, we know we can't trust reality with the demon around. This ties into Skye's whole thing she says a few times. She didn't talk to anyone about her issues. The more I thought about it, I believe in the real world, Skye never actually did talk to anyone about what was going on. Another example of this is the butterfly costume at the end. There was a whole specific thing with her putting her foot down, she was not gonna wear it, and yet there it is at the end. This must mean that she didn't actually ever talk to her mom about any of that stuff, and that unfortunately is her fatal flaw. With that, we reach a conclusion of this ending explained for Smile 2, but if you still have any other questions, why not check out my video for Smile right up above. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks for watching FoundFlix. See you next time.